AITA for not telling my former fiancé I bought her dream house? 10 years ago, my fiancé left me. 38 meters. A few weeks before our wedding. We grew up in a small town. We were friendly, went to the same school, but we never were in the same clique. She was one of the popular kids and I wasn't. A few years after college, I moved back home when my dad got sick. I found a job in my field about 45 minutes away from home. I would help take my dad to his chemo appointments. It was during one of those appointments I ran into X. She was now worked at the hospital. One day while waiting, I asked her out. It turned out we shared a lot of the same interests. It seemed like our relationship was going great. About a year or so into dating X and I moved into a rented house together. The following year, I proposed. We began looking for a house. X always wanted to live in her grandparents' house on the lake near our town. Her family was forced to sell house when her grandparents died because of an inheritance dispute. 6 months before our wedding, a chance event happened. The couple who bought her grandparents' lake house had grown tired of our snowy winters. It took some work and nearly all of my savings, but I was able to buy her dream house. It was going to be my surprise wedding present, so I didn't dare tell her or anyone in her family my plans. A month before our wedding, X and her friends went to Miami for her bachelorette party. I am not sure all of what happened there. Part of me doesn't really want to know. But I do know her high school BF was there. When she got back from the trip, she broke down and confessed she was afraid to get married and wanted to call it off. It was a mess. She later moved to Florida and eventually married HSBF. I ended up moving back to the city for an amazing job. In the meantime, I still had the lake house. With the help of my mom and dad, we started to fix up the lake house. It took a few years. My mom and dad would look after the contractors while I was in the city. Having the house was perfect when the everything locked down. I was able to escape the city and work remotely from the lake house. I now live here full-time and work remotely. This summer we had 4th of July at the lake house. My sil used photos from the lake this summer in her Christmas card. One of those cards made it to X's cousin. The cousin recognized the house. The Saturday before New Year's, X's mother and sister were at my front door. After pleasantries and answering their initial questions, they made an offer to buy it. I refused. They were not happy. A few days I got a long TXT from X. This was the first time in about 9 years she has talked with me. She called me an ass for keeping this from her. Her family is blaming her for losing the house again. She then asked me sell. I still have no intention to sell. Now her and her family are complaining on social media that this is some sort of revenge. AITA? NTA. Your intention was to surprise your ex with the house at the wedding. If you had called off the wedding, I'd reconsider my judgment, but she is the reason why she doesn't have access to that house. On top of that, you've made the house your own. Enjoy it. I would be petty and post on social media the date on the contract when you purchased the house and explain that if it wasn't for X cheating on you and leaving you for her now husband, this would have been her house as a wedding gift, but instead of having it be a painful memory of the hurt she caused you with the help of your family, you were able to bond with your family even more working on the house together, and that this house will now always stay on your family for generations to come. The audacity of your ex and her family is crazy. Now after you and your family spent a decade fixing it up, they are trying to lowball you out of the house. I assume their offer wouldn't cover the cost of the renovations and any appreciation on the house, because that seems on brand for people like that. And when that didn't work, they took to social media to complain. NTA, I would post the entire story on social media and then block everyone in that family. Oh come on my guy. You know your NTA. Enjoy your sweet lake house that now belongs to your family. The ex and her family are just salty because they realized what they missed out on. Personally, I wouldn't even reply. Just block and never think of her again. NTA. So, after more than 10 years and a presumably expensive renovation, your ex and her family want the lake house back. What a lot of gall they have. Anytime in the last 10 years any of them could have tracked down the owner from the county tax records and made an offer. They can eat their sour grapes and get lost. Show her the contract of when you bought it. Make sure she knows that she burned herself when she torched you. You bought it with the best of intentions. She left you. NTA. NTA. Now her and her family are complaining on social media that this is some sort of revenge. Tell them they're right, because living well is the best revenge. And that's what you're doing. Living well. In the house you intended to share with your ex-fiancé. You are most definitely NTA. And you sound like a pretty great dude. Hell, you bought your ex an entire house as a wedding gift. If it was so important for her family to get it back, they should have paid closer attention to if it was on the market. You put tons of work and money into this house. You deserve it. NTA. You had no intention of using this as revenge. That is just how it turned out. Technically, we can call this karma. You never rubbed it her face. Obviously, since it has been 9 years. NTA. It sounds like they possibly think you bought it to spite her. Show them the property records, whatever proof on social media as to purchase date. Say I bought this as a wedding gift surprise for my then bride-to-be. Since she cheated and broke up with me weeks before the wedding, I have no interest, desire, or reason to give it to her. It's been 9 years. She screwed up and her family and her need to move on. Tell them you will take their number, and should you ever decide to sell you will let them know. They can blame her. It seems right, but you are not an ass. You had planned a grand gesture and she screwed up. You have worked to make the house a home and you live there and I assume love it. You don't owe her or them anything. If they really wanted that home, they should have been keeping an eye on it and bought it when you did. You enjoy your life. InTA. I'd pour salt in the wound and tell her why you initially bought it. NTA. The audacity of them to feel entitled to your home. Like rubbing salt in a sword wound. You secured this for her. She left the relationship. Block their noise and boot them out of your head. You are not the asshole. File the statements of revenge with the police. It may seem not that important, but do it. Even if the police are not enthusiastic. If damage, e.g., arson, occurs, every person involved in revenge talk will become top suspects. Also be sure your home is insured to rebuild. These costs climb every year. NTA. And seriously, if she knew that you bought the house back, then she would have married you for the house. Your life would have been hell. She would have fought you for the deed in divorce and you would have probably lost everything and the house. Thank goodness you didn't put her name on the deed. The house is yours, not theirs, and hasn't been theirs for decades. If you decide to sell, her family can try to buy it if they have the better offer. So enjoy your home and maybe purchase a gate to prevent unwanted guests from coming to the door. NTA. But let me get this straight. For 9 years they have never reached out to the owners, not knowing that it was you, of the lake house, to buy back the property once they financially could. They lost it because of an inheritance dispute. So they clearly didn't care about the property, but wanted whatever inheritance they were fighting over. I am assuming they have never reached back out to you after your ex cheated and cut ties with you. So now that they know it's you, they show up and have some pleasantry and ask with the expectation that you sell them back the house. And not the ex who was afraid to get married and called it off, and who then proceeded to move to Florida to be with and eventually marry the guy she cheated on you with, calling you 9 years later, upset that you didn't tell her about your purchase gift for her for when you got married, as if you owe it to her. Explain that mental gymnastics, because her family is pissed. Did I get that right? Yeah. NTA. Enjoy your life in that house, and if they keep harassing you, tell her husband that she won't stop calling you, and get a restraining order on her family if you can. Tell her the story. I brought it as wedding gift for you, but you decide to cheat on me and marry another guy. Fuck you and your family. Never contact me ever again. You are awful human beings. You deserve all bad karma. I plan to live in this house with my family in the future. Let me alone. Bye. This would feel so good for you. Believe me, write these stuff and it will destroy her. Man, some people are so dumb. I would 100% tell her everything. That I bought the house for a wedding present and I wanted to live happily ever after with her. And then I would proceed to thank her for influencing you to buy the house, and that you've loved it. And you're going to continue to love it, and we will be passing it down to your children. I would probably go full bore on her because she deserves it. 100% NTA. NTA. And what if it was revenge? Who cares? The house was available. You liked it and you bought it. If doing all that also resulted in a huge FU to the ex-fiancé who cheated on you and left you, then all the better. Thumbs up. NTA. Keep the house, and set up cameras, security if you haven't already. NTA. These people have brass balls. What nerve. Even if you are seeking revenge. So what? Thank goodness that you didn't get married or put her name on the deed. Enjoy your house. NTA. She moved to another state and cut contact. Were you supposed to track her down? Tell her you sent a carrier pigeon, but it must have gotten eaten by a gator before it got to her. Block all of them and live a good life. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.